Okay. And it looks like we are live. That took a couple of minutes. Hello, Gunipi. Thank you for joining me today. I will be answering your question in just a moment. I'm just going to wait about a minute or so to see if people start coming in. I know that today is a Thursday, and here in the States, it's in the middle of the workday, so may not be as many people here. We'll see. But either way, thank you all for joining me today. I love doing this, as you can tell. Wasn't able to last week, so I'm excited to get into it. If anyone can confirm really quick whether or not the audio's working and the video's working, that would be awesome. Oh, should be working. Hmm. Audio and video is good. Yes. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. I know that was a little bit of issue in the past, so I'm glad to hear it. Hello, Snick. Hello, hello. How are you guys? Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever in the world you may be. Yeah, thank you for joining us, Tasha. It's good to see you. It's good for you to be here. Hello, Verpu. Good, good, good. Good work day so far. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Michael. You are so welcome. You are so welcome. I love doing these. And like I said, last week got caught up super busy. So I do want to, going forward, try to make this a weekly thing because I really do love it. And you guys seem to enjoy it. And my cat seems to enjoy it. So we're all having a good time. Oh, yay, Davika. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Good of you to join. I'm glad you're here. Hello, R. Davis. Oh, you guys are wonderful. You guys are wonderful. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm sorry you've missed them before, but I am super happy that you are able to join today. Yes. Hello, Priscilla. Tracy, hello. Oh my God, I was actually planning on messaging you right after the live. I've been thinking about you today. And there you are. Hello. Oh, that is so sweet, Burku. Thank you. Oh my goodness. You are so welcome. You are so welcome. And I'm so happy to see that you are feeling better every day. Please do lives more often. I'm as often as I can. I really do love I really do love coming on here with you guys. Y'all are the best. Ain't seen you in a minute. Well, hello, Element. It's good to see you again. Sorry if it has been a minute. And don't mind my cat. She's in a mood this morning. No, Tracy, you're awesome. You are so awesome. No, you. Okay, I think if the audio and video is good, which I've got confirmation that it is, I say we go ahead and jump right in. And as more people come in and trickle in, we'll just keep this thing rolling. No, Gunapi? Gunapi, if I'm butchering anyone's name, I do sincerely apologize. But I'm going to get to your question first since you were the first one in here. And that one was, where are you? When I revise a past event, how do I know how things will develop? how to fine tune things that they will develop the way I want them to be in the future. So, when revising a past event, how to know things will develop. So, when it comes to revision, it's just like with anything else, just like with the bottom line of manifestation, it's about feeling. It is about the feeling. And the whole purpose, the whole beauty and magic behind the imagination is that is our creative power. That is our tool. That is what like, that is our gift to experience anything that we want. So when we're revising a past event and we imagine what we would have rather had experienced instead of maybe the thing that we recall or that old memory, the way that you do it is the reason we do it and imagine it the way that we wanted it to go is so that we know how things will develop going forward, because you're essentially removing that state entirely, that old state, that old story. You're taking it out of the equation, out of the experience. So from that moment going forward, you're going to see things playing out from the revised memory instead of the old one. And so, as far as how to fine tune things, I mean, if you can give me some examples, I guess, of where you might be struggling, then I could better answer that question for you. But as far as, I mean, in general, a good thing to remember is that revision, just like imagining in the state akin to sleep, just like most of the techniques that we practice, does take some practice. So if it doesn't feel very natural or real at first, practice with it, play with it. The imagination acts almost like a muscle, in the sense that the more that we use it, the stronger that it gets. But yeah, if you have any specific examples of areas that you feel need fine tuning, definitely let me know. Hello, Raina. Hello, hello, you guys are wonderful. Mike C, difference before void state and I am state. I'm assuming you mean difference between void state and I am state. I don't know if I've heard it referred to as void state, but I mean, I guess that makes sense. The I am state is what it boils down to is unconditioned consciousness. So we are all consciousness that have been conditioned. We are all conditioned consciousness. So I am Missy Renee. I am conditioned to be and act and believe and think like Missy Renee. I am conditioned based on the experiences, based on the circumstances that I've had, all of that. So when we're talking about the I am state, we're talking about, it's almost as if you're peeling back layers of this conditioned consciousness, right? The identity, the beliefs, the assumptions, and you are just aware of being. You are just aware of I am, not attached to anything else. I hope that makes sense. And I have not heard of void state. That is a new term that I haven't heard of yet, but in a sense, I guess, you feel everything and nothing, right? You are not your body, you're not your identity anymore. So I guess in that sense, you are sort of void from the old conditioned consciousness. But yeah, that in a nutshell is the I am state. Speaking of revision, how do you revise multiple events? For instance, you mentioned you had over 200 things to revise. What did you do? Where did you start? What if you had a lot of trauma? That is an excellent question, Stephanie. And actually, it's funny that revision is coming up, because I was actually planning on making a video, I guess, revision part two, kind of going a bit more into my process because I've gotten a lot of questions about that, and not, rightfully so. I guess for me personally, I started, oh God, I don't even remember where I started. What I did at first was I took the things that were in the, I guess, near term past or like recent past events, and I started there. I started to revise from there. But what I found was every time I would revise something, it felt like four or five more things would pop up that were connected to what I just revised. So I got to a point where I started to kind of reverse engineer in a sense, in that I started to go back further and I started to ask myself, okay, these circumstances, these events, these happened because I was showing up like this, because I was feeling this, because I was assuming, enter whatever, desperate, I was feeling insecure, I was feeling sad, angry. So I kind of got to the bottom of the core beliefs that I was carrying, the ones that really defined who I am. And I started to kind of trace back to where those came from, where those stemmed from. If there was any specific events that they were connected to. So I initially started revising my recent past, but then I switched it up a bit and started going back from childhood forward. And when I did that, it was it became much more simple, I guess, if that makes sense, because if these beliefs had not been instilled in the first place, then that would have taken a lot of the events out of the equation, if that makes sense. But when it comes to multiple events that happened, another thing that you can do is, instead of revising every single event, you can, if they're related somehow, you can create a whole new memory instead of revising a whole multiple past ones, if that makes sense. Let me know if you need me to dive into that one a little bit more. But I do plan on making a video talking more about revision for sure. Hey, Missy. How do we deal with being overwhelmed that everything in our life is our responsibility? I keep connecting the dots to how I've been creating all the good and bad in my past. That's a phenomenal question. Yeah, I certainly remember that feeling. When I really started to when the realization came to me that this was in fact what I had been doing, that I had in fact been the operant power this whole time. I struggled with that a little bit. That was overwhelming. And I know that there are sometimes in this community, especially, it almost feels like you're being attacked when people say, well, you're responsible, like you did it ultimately, you need to take responsibility for it. It almost comes across as almost as an attack. And I don't prefer that approach. I'm not a big fan of that approach, because the thing to remember, and what ultimately helped me through that period of overwhelm, was understanding that all of the things that I had created, good or bad, and especially the things that were not great and that were bad, I was asleep. I was not aware of what I was doing. I wasn't aware of any of this. So it seemed, when I looked at it like that, it seemed ridiculous to be upset at myself or frustrated with myself, when clearly, had I known that I was the operant power, I would have showed up very differently at times in my life, right? I mean, I think everyone can say the same. So there is a degree of forgiveness. And I know that that part can be especially challenging. for the things that we've done and for the things that other people have done. That part can be a struggle, but ultimately the thing that got me through it the most was remembering that I was not aware. I was completely asleep. It would be like getting upset, like getting enraged with a child for, you know, spilling something on the floor. Like, the child doesn't know any better. We like show up with love and compassion, not anger, not vitriol. So I hope that, everybody comes to that understanding and can make that peace within themselves. And I understand that it's going to be a journey for everyone. But yeah, that's what helped me the most, I'd say, like reconcile with everything up until that point. Oh my goodness, SB, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for your last video. As I'm on my journey, I feel like my bigger desires are not as important now. I feel inspired to take on a new. That is awesome. Yes, that is awesome to hear. I'm really glad you enjoyed the video. I, yeah, that was so much fun to make. And it seemed like it got some great feedback. So I'm really happy that you enjoyed it and that it's inspiring you to kind of expand the awareness and really see how much potential and how much we truly have, as what we are capable of. It's astounding. It truly is. Oh, Tracy. Oh, girl, I love you so much. I'm so happy to hear that it's been helpful. Trying to go back, I know there's a bunch of questions. I'm trying to backtrack a little bit. Okay. Raina asks, how do I disregard a no contact situation? How do I convince myself that we're in contact / we're together when I haven't heard from him for 2 months? My focus tends to go to this instead of my end. Yeah, understandably. And the important thing to remember, guys, is that we're all conditioned to be responding and reacting to the 3D through the outside, right? That's just all of us. All of us were conditioned to think of the outside as real and this as make believe, which certainly can make it feel more challenging when we are like at a subconscious level looking, so to speak, or it doesn't feel real because of what the 3D is showing us or not showing us in this case. So, how do you disregard a no contact situation? For me, what I had to do was, again, like, aside from the work that I did with my concept of self, aside from obviously, reconditioning the beliefs and assumptions and all of these things that had manifested bad things in the first place, it was practicing imagining, practicing using my imagination in a way that helped it to feel more real. Because, I mean, and here's the thing, and this is why this is important, guys. The subconscious mind can't tell the difference between a memory of something that really happened and an imaginal act, a dream, can't tell the difference between any of that. So the more that we practice with our imagination, and the more that we can kind of, and this is why practicing and playing around with it, when we start to bring in those tones of reality, the subconscious mind thinks, oh, this is actually, this is happening, this is real, okay, here you go. So it was when I got to a point, and I guess you could say it's entering the Sabbath, how Neville used to say entering the Sabbath, that was through the practice and the repetition of exercising my imagination. And it started naturally on its own. I noticed that I was no longer looking to the 3D. I was no longer reacting to the 3D because for me, it felt like something that was so painfully obvious, and it felt just so like, of course this is happening. Of course this is done. It was that kind of feeling. But understandably, this is not always the easiest feat when we're getting the hang of it, right? Hence why it is a practice. So, and that's where persistence comes in, for sure. I'm trying to change my eye color from dark brown to green. Should I accept the fact that it is now brown, or should I just believe that it is already should I just believe that it already is green, avoiding the 3D? So, should you accept the eye color, the physical change that you don't want? No. No. And again, this is kind of where, we practice imagining. Standing in front of a mirror sometimes helps when it comes to physical appearance, and either with your eyes open or closed, because some people can visualize with their eyes open. In fact, for some people, that's easier. But see yourself in front of the mirror with bright green eyes, right? And really saturate your mind with that and just practice that, practice that, practice that. And anytime, so just believing that it already is green. Yes. So believing and assuming that, again, through imagination, you can change any any physical aspect does not matter. Now that doesn't mean that you have to like avoid looking in a mirror per se, but yes, definitely persist in the assumption of what you do want, because an assumption, even if it's false, if we persist in it, will harden into fact. And that is the truth, guys. That is the truth. Should I get coaching from you, even if it's not an SP I'm particularly interested in? I'm actually fascinated with quantum jumping to visit an alternate reality. I love your quantum jumping as well. Oh, thank you, Northwest Wind. Absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely shoot me an email or something. Let's definitely talk. I coach all different kinds of people, not just SP situations. Yeah, absolutely. I would love that. And thank you. I'm thrilled that you like the video. I've gotten a lot of good feedback, and that makes me really happy. How do you handle days that you are having a hard time? Most days I am good. I feel good. Then a day or two will come and I am sad and I miss my person. Understandable. Yeah. And I'm truly sorry to hear that. I know that those days can be incredibly rough. The best way to, I guess, handle those days when we're feeling down and out, if we are able to, we do want to try to redirect our attention and focus away from what we don't want, right? That is ultimately what we want to do as much as possible. But understand though that sometimes that can seem very difficult to do. So through my experience and through talking to many other people, if we need to have a moment to be sad, to get it off our chest, so to speak, then allow yourself the ability to do so, right? Sometimes we feel frustrated and we feel angry or we feel sad, and instead of, you know, getting ourselves anxious about that, if we need to do it, just let yourself do it, because we can always go back and revise later. We can always go back and revise it later. So it's really just about, wherever you are in that moment, if you are able to catch yourself and redirect yourself and kind of reground yourself, so to speak, then obviously that is what we want to do. That is preferred. But if it's one of those moments where it just feels like no matter what we do, we're just feeling bummed out, then let yourself have that moment. And as soon as you do start to feel a bit better, because that feeling will not last forever. And as soon as you are feeling a bit better, we can always go back and revise that later. We don't want to try to force ourselves to feel happy. We don't want to suppress any sadness, any of that. That's certainly just going to make it worse. What else can we do in the meantime? I know we don't have to do anything, but I found exercising and reading has made me happier. Yeah. I'm assuming you mean what can we do in the meantime between when we've imagined and when it's coming to pass? I assume that's what you mean. And what else can we do in the meantime? I mean, anything. In that time, in that period between when the subconscious impression has been placed and when it ultimately materializes, we can use our time any way that we want, right? But absolutely filling it with things that we enjoy doing is going to make things exponentially better. Just helping us to feel better, right? So if exercising and reading are things that you enjoy doing, then hell yes, more of that. Yeah. Is there, like you just said, we don't have to do anything in that period. We don't have to do anything. So fill that time as much as you can with things that give you joy and things that bring you happiness and things that you really love. Yeah. Oh, SB, I missed part of your question. I'm so sorry. I don't know why it cut off. Would you recommend going after the new project or staying focused on getting SP back? So going after switching focus, I guess. Recommending staying focused on SP or kind of switching course. I don't see why you can't do both. Why not both? Tracy, I love that. Loved your last video. A question regarding your experience. When you returned to this world and realized the ring you had on your hand that sweet lady gave you, didn't you have that ring before that experience? Did I have that? Mm-mm. No. Nope. Which was all the reason that it was in that moment when I noticed the ring that I was like, whew, okay, that happened. Yeah, that I'll never forget that feeling. I get chills every time I think about it. You had two dreams this week that SP and yourself were back in contact and it was positive. That's awesome. That is awesome. And dreams like that are especially a good sign. The dreams are showing you what's going on subconsciously. So if you're having good dreams, that is a fantastic sign. Hey, Dolly. Hello. Welcome. Nah, if I missed an email from you, I'll definitely take a look and try to find you. I do apologize. And I'll be keeping a lookout and checking for an email from you. If we're getting extreme birds before land, but 3D is showing the complete opposite, are we on the right track? I mean, yes, birds before land are pretty, they're good things. They're good things, naturally we want to see. I guess that's kind of, it is a good indicator, yes. Although the important thing to always remember and keep in mind when it comes to 3D and lack of movement in the 3D, just because it doesn't appear to our physical senses that things are happening or not happening does not mean that it's not working or that it's not happening. I mean, I've had more manifestations come to pass than I can count where it completely out of the blue, completely blindsided. There were no signs, there was nothing to indicate that this is coming. Signs do follow, they don't precede, and that means that we're not going to see the signs before we move into that state and really maintain that state of consciousness. That said, birds before land is an indication that you are at least in that correct state as far as like the general foundational state. So for example, if you're trying to manifest an SP and you notice that all of your exes are reaching out to you, or other people who are interested in reaching out to you, then clearly you are in the state of love and being loved. That's just one example, but I say that to say just because it appears to the physical senses that nothing is happening does not mean nothing is happening. We have to remember that always. I often wonder if people are really getting into the alpha state or not. Some frustrations may be because of that. Yeah, I would tend to agree with you there. And by alpha state, I assume you mean the drowsy state in SATs. I know for myself, I could definitely speak for myself. There were times, especially when I was still very new at this, that I was trying to get into SATs when I was still very much too alert, like too awake. And yeah, that was incredibly frustrating. So I agree with you there. I don't think we'll be able to master the law. It will always be a learning process for the rest of our life. I have been using the law intentionally for over 12. I've manifested stuff, but still struggle. I mean, to agree, yes, we're always growing and evolving through experience. I mean, that is the whole reason that we are here, having this human experience. So, I do agree in that this is a journey. Absolutely. And we don't want to beat ourselves up or give ourselves a hard time because we should be, you know, we have an expectation that we should be this or that or be further along in the process. No, every journey is unique. We're all growing and evolving. So, in that sense, yeah, I do agree. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Marku, you are wonderful. What should we do when we have a hard time to change our own imagination? Thanks for everything. Oh, you are welcome. What should we do when we have a hard time to change our own imagination? So I'm assuming that you mean what should we do if we have a hard time imagining or changing something in our imagination? If I'm wrong, please feel free to correct me. Uh, as far as what to do if you are having a hard time with imagination, are you speaking about visualizing or the tones of reality, the imaginal senses? Because there are things that we can do to kind of build up that muscle more, so to speak. There are exercises that we can use to, I guess, beef up the imaginal muscle. muscle. But yeah, I know Neville talked about a couple of them that I put to the test as well. Just practicing with different types of visualization exercises. One famous one that Neville talked about a lot was, he would be in his living room in a recliner or a chair, and he would imagine himself on the other side of the house, like in the hallway by the telephone. And so, things like that can be especially helpful, right? Especially if it's an area like your house where you know your house pretty damn well, right? So using something that's familiar and just practicing moving around, excuse me, moving around your home, and anything like that, or a location that you're very familiar with, that is going to help to kind of strengthen the imagination, so to speak. But if you meant something else, let me know. Thank you, Kilmer. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat. Been trying to manifest ex-husband back for 2 years now. Saw last night on Facebook he got married in October. I don't know if he even lives here anymore. I feel like I failed. I'm not sure what to do. First and foremost, I'm deeply sorry that you had that experience and that happened. What I would personally recommend and what I would do in that situation, and I know that this one is going to likely feel very difficult for people when it seems like something is very final, but I wouldn't accept it. I would not accept it. And that goes for anything in the 3D. If it's not what we want, if it's not what we desire, reject it. Do not accept it. Now, again, understandably, there are different things, circumstances where that can feel infinitely more difficult to do, right? So, depending on where you are at, I also don't want to make you feel like I don't want to make you feel like you have to force yourself to do something if you are hurting, right? So we need to kind of check in with ourselves and see where we're at. And if you need a moment to feel upset, angry, kind of going back to what I said earlier, if you need to take a break for a moment and just take care of you, then absolutely, absolutely you should. But ultimately, that's my rule for myself, and this just goes for anything in the 3D that shows up unwanted. We do not accept it. Even if it looks like it's final, even if it looks like there's no changing this, doesn't matter. Have you ever done physical energy work before? For example, growing and expanding energy by focusing on an energy ball between your hands. Just curious. Oh, you mean like playing around with energy, so to speak? I have done, okay, I know what you're talking about. Yes, I have done exercises where I've kind of played with that. Yeah, for lack of better words, just energy. It feels really, I know what you're talking about now. Sorry, that took me a second. Yeah, I've also, um, you know, done plenty of meditation where I had in my imagination, I imagined that just this ball of warm energy, like this warm, vibrant energy, like sink through my ceiling and down into my chest and just radiate throughout my body. It feels amazing. Yeah, I'm a big fan of doing things like that. I'm sometimes I can't change my strong belief about other people. I'm trying to change my belief and imagination about them. And understandably, it can feel very difficult at first. Yeah. Yeah, especially the people that we have very strong opinions and beliefs and expectations like surrounding them. And it can certainly feel very difficult to do so. Yeah. What I can say though is that does get easier. It does begin to feel more natural when you start assuming them. The more that you assume and imagine the version of them that you would desire to interact with, it does begin to feel more natural. Not at first initially, not not always at first, but it does. It's not always this difficult. I'm wondering if you have any tips for how to get into an allowing state when you have spent most of your life in fight or flight and doing and manipulation mode. Oh yeah. That was my yeah, that was my life. Before finding the law, before finding Neville, I was very much I had growing up in early adulthood years, I was constantly in fight or flight mode. I was constantly in, you know, like I got to do something. I have to take action. I have to figure it out. Would spin my wheels a lot. So yeah, no, I do understand because that was a lot of what had happened to me and what I had experienced too. And I guess it was kind of a twofold thing. One, I did what Neville said over and over again, and that was testing the law, put it to the test, right? Sort of begin to build up my faith. And I also started to really practice with meditation and with just, I guess in a way it was sort of like an I am meditation, but it was just not focusing on any one thing in particular in meditation, but just kind of letting everything just slide off of me, just letting everything be and not trying to, like, anytime I had thoughts come up in my mind, I would just observe them and let them just float on by. I did not pay any mind to them. But really, through testing the law and building faith, and through meditation and just stopping and just being, just existing with no conditions attached to that, you know, I'd say the combination of those two were what really helped to reinforce these new ways of acting and new ways of what's the word? I guess it helped remove the old ways of the fight or flight. It helped remove my old way of thinking and reacting big time. Can you make a video on self love? I can. I can. That's actually an important one because a lot of people kind of get the self love confused with self esteem and self concept. Yeah, I can definitely make a video talking all about that. Should I focus on self concept or manifest my SP first? I mean, if you are feeling a lot of pushback when it comes to manifesting SP, and by pushback I mean negative thoughts, a lot of double-mindedness, a lot of reacting to the 3D or the old story. If there's a lot going on there, then I would absolutely 1000% recommend Self-Concept first and foremost. Yeah. Manifested seeing my SP in a random place, but I was wearing ring on left hand. I fear this chased him away. I am not married, just wear the ring when I don't want random guys to hit on me. I can't imagine him wanting to call me now if he thinks I'm married. I've worked so hard to visualize running into him. Is it over? No. No. And it's not over. No. Not at all. Ultimately, no matter what happens, it truly does not mean that we blew up the manifestation. We have to pack it up and go home now. Never. Never. I would recommend revising that encounter 100%. Revising that encounter, imagine running into him, you weren't wearing the ring, something like that. But when it comes to the circumstances, that's the first thing we always must remember, is that never matters. And I know that part is difficult because we are so ingrained to believe that it does matter, but it doesn't. Just because something happened has no bearing on what is going to happen or what can happen. So yeah, don't accept that. Reject it. Oh, no crying. No. You are so welcome. You are so welcome. No, you're good. You're good, I promise. When I completely let go and forget about a desire, usually things I don't care about, I manifest them in 5 seconds. How do I let go of the things I really want like that? Isn't that hilarious? Isn't that funny? We can, like, when it comes to things that we just could care less about, they show up like that. I remember being like furious at times because it felt like such a contradiction. Ultimately, letting go is when we're at a point where we don't feel the need to keep, doing techniques or obsessing or focusing on any of the desire. Like, letting go comes when we have impressed subconsciously whatever it is that we desire, right? So, how to let go of the things you really want? Again, same thing we use to manifest literally everything in our world. Literally everything. It's the imagination. Imagination. Use that imagination. And because the more that you feel it in imagination, the more the subconscious is going to say, "Oh, yeah, hey, cool. This is real. It's a done deal." And you're going to naturally start acting and thinking and feeling from that premise instead of, where is it? I don't see it. Am I doing this right? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Like, practice going to the end in imagination. Yeah. Please explain about fishing. Oh, that one. So fear not, I am absolutely coming out with a video of that, talking about fishing, because I've gotten a lot of requests to go into it, but I've only got a few minutes left, and that's it's going to take me a minute to really dive in when it comes to the fishing exercise. But in a nutshell, fishing is the same thing as the I am state. It's removing the layers or concept of self, right? It's kind of peeling all of that back and becoming aware of I am, just being, just I am. So it's because it's from that unconditioned consciousness, it's from awareness that we can then attach ourselves to a new set of concepts and beliefs and assumptions. But I am coming out with a video. I'm going to talk way more in depth about fishing. I've gotten a lot of requests about that one. But in short, it is the I am state. Do we have to script to revise? Oh, wait, hang on. Priscilla, I will come right back to the question. Do we have to script to revise or can we do it through affirmation? Yes, you can revise through affirmation. Absolutely. SB, thank you for the super chat. I'm sorry, I almost missed you there. Do you think it may be possible to live a parallel life? For example, could you maybe have lived in that town while also living in your current life in the 3D world here? Absolutely. Absolutely. So when we get quantum, right? When we're thinking quantum, I know it's enough to break your brain. It's a lot to wrap your head around, but there are literally infinite versions of you. There are infinite versions of you in these parallel realities, in these different states. So absolutely, we are living, here in this that we are aware of now. There is also a reality where we are famous and wealthy and successful. There's one where we are, you know, academic scholar. There's one where we are, you name it, you name it. But yes. Missy, when you manifested your SP, were you more specific or general in your focus? I feel more relief in being general, but worry at times that I will just get anything if I'm not specific. That's a phenomenal question because I think a lot of people have that misconception. Uh, I mean, I did both. I was definitely at times specific, especially when I was doing SATs or when I was really getting lost in imagination. I saw myself with my person, and that was clear. But I'd say more often than not, I kept it very general, very general. And I found too that initially there was much less resistance when I was more general, so to speak. And I think a lot of people can relate to that and feel that, right? Because of the old story. When we get very specific about our person, all of the old crap comes up with it. So the goal and the name of the game here is the path of least resistance. So I'm a huge proponent and do recommend always that if it feels more natural and it feels easier, more effortless to go general, then go general. Because, and as far as this fear of we're going to manifest just anybody, just anyone random, that's not true. That's not true because we know who we want. The subconscious mind knows who it is that we desire, and we're not going to be fooling ourselves, if you know what I mean. So no, if it's easier to go general, go general. 100%. All right. I have got time for maybe one or two more questions. Damn it. I would stay here all day if I could. This is fun. Hey, Missy. Is seeing your SP in your mind's eye okay if we are feeling it real in the moment? Absolutely. Absolutely. Seeing your SP in your mind's eye, okay, for feeling it real in that moment. Yeah, 100%. In fact, usually if whenever are feeling it real, it's not uncommon to start seeing that person in your mind's eye without even trying. So yes, seeing your SP in your mind's eye is not only is it okay, it's a great thing to have happen. Yes, element. The subconscious mind knows. It knows. We don't have to worry about, oh no, if I don't think about them specifically, that somebody else is going to meant. No, no. Mm-mm. Thank you, Maria. You are too sweet. You are too sweet. All of you are amazing. And Dolly, oh my gosh, girl, yes. Send me an email. I would love to chat. Love to chat. Y'all are awesome. While manifesting my person, she is starting to contact more and things like that. But my ex-husband has been contacting me and telling me he misses me and I'm beautiful and questioning me when I go out to do things. What does this mean and how do I get him to stop? This I mean, first off, I am truly sorry that this is something that you're going through because yeah, it's when it's something that we don't want that's showing up as well, that can be annoying. That is a classic example of birds before land. That is a classic example of birds before land. So it's important to note first and foremost that it's a good it's a good thing in terms of you're in the right foundational state that you want to be in. Like if your person, your SP is showing up more and reaching out more, then that is fantastic. But there may be times when it comes to birds before land where somebody else is also reaching out and trying to get closer to us. And that part is obviously not ideal, of course. And I guess to address that, to combat that, you go back to the imagination. Go back to the imagination. You could revise him reaching out, like if you, especially if it something happened that day, if there was a conversation and he was expressing things that you didn't like or didn't want, revise it, revise it, revise it, revise it. Right. Another thing that I could think of just off the top of my head would be, imagining having a conversation with your ex-husband and hearing him say that he's found happiness elsewhere and that, he's loving life, doing his own thing over there. And obviously I'm like paraphrasing, I'm giving an example, but anything like that that implies that that is no longer an issue and that is not an issue with what you are intentionally trying to manifest, I would do anything that falls into that camp, right? But just know that this is not in and of itself a bad thing. It may be annoying, it may be frustrating. I'm not saying it's great, but it is an indication of birds before land. And birds before land is a way of showing us that we are, in fact, at least as far as like the foundational state of being loved, of being chosen, of being wanted, of being, the one who always comes first. That's a good indicator. Oh, you guys are wonderful. You guys are wonderful. Oh, much, 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 much love. Oh, I really would stay here all freaking day if I could. I love doing these lives with you guys. Y'all are amazing. Your questions are amazing. If I missed anyone, I do sincerely apologize. I'm trying to go back and catch as many as I can. But note that I will be coming back next week. And I will definitely be making this a weekly thing from now on because I love doing this. So yeah, if I missed your question, I do sincerely apologize, but this will be an ongoing thing. And yeah, y'all are awesome. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. All the love to all of you, sincerely. And if you have other questions that maybe if you're not going to be here for the next live, you can just try to shoot me an email, anything like that. Um, Last shameless plug, check out the description box for resources, anything like that, workshops, all of that good stuff. Definitely check everything out. I love y'all. You be safe, you be good, you be awesome. Don't forget how freaking powerful you are, guys. Sincerely. Much love.